Lux, once a prince of a mighty empire and dubbed the Dark Drag Knight, could annihilate whole armies single-handedly. Following his defeat, he regains consciousness inside a prison cell. A young woman approaches, and he implores her to hear him out, claiming he can clarify everything. He recounts a bizarre tale. A cat snatched a lady's purse, and while chasing it, he accidentally stumbled into the school's shower room, landing on another girl. Confused, he realized he needed a quick escape plan. Complimenting the girl as cute and a knockout, she dismisses him as a hoodlum, uninterested in his excuses. She questions him about the sword device he carries, noting the rarity of a man possessing two, especially a black one. Suddenly, another girl arrives, inquiring about her presence. She informs Lux that the headmaster wishes to see him, and together, they haul him away. A new girl tells him that he must have nerve for peeping on girls showering, and he tries to tell her the story again. However, he realizes that he's actually in an academy and apologizes to the headmaster for causing the ruckus. The headmaster recognizes him as the prince of the former empire that fell in the previous war, and the headmaster tells them that she knows him and he would never have the balls to even stare at a girl if she asked him to. She asks him if he knows about this academy. She tells him girls have a higher aptitude for riding the mechanized dragons, so this is an all-girls school that is intended to train them. However, she wants him to work here, and he asks her why she would ask a man to do this. She tells him that it's rare for boys to be able to ride the mechas. The girls yell at her, and the blonde girl comes in and says that it's unacceptable that he would work here. He realizes she's the girl whose plot he saw, and the girls warn her that he will develop a plot with her again if she gets close. The headmaster tells him that she'll leave him at the mercy of the girl, and the girl orders him to fight her. The girls think that there's no way she can lose against a man, but the headmaster warns her, saying that he won a tournament undefeated, and he's known as the undefeated weakest one. She thinks that he's just a perv, and that she will put him in his place. She tells him that this duel between them will decide his fate. If he loses, he will become a criminal for his actions. She tells the girls to inform everyone that the New Kingdom's princess will be fighting the former prince. He asks her what she means, and she tells him that she's the first princess of the New Kingdom that destroyed his empire 5 years ago. And she tells him that it's disappointing that her friend's brother is a useless perv. His sister asks him how she would pay his debt if he's incarcerated, and tells him that they've been considered criminals since the war, so they already have a very large debt to pay. He enters the ring, and hears the entire crowd screaming for him. Machines begin to deploy a barrier, and they commence the match for him to fight against the new princess. The girl asks him if he knows why she challenged him to this duel, and he asks if it's because he used to be a prince. She tells him he'll get to know if he wins. The match begins, and he chants his summons. She scoffs at his miserable appearance, boasting that her divine remit puts her machine leagues above his. His sister understands that such a device possesses capabilities ordinary machines can't counter, usable only by the most adept. The teacher signals the start of their duel, and she immediately opens fire on him. As he maneuvers to evade her bullets, she taunts him to entertain her, admitting her preference for a rough challenge. He tries to avoid her magical assaults, but suffers a direct hit. Pleading for a truce, he suggests a draw might resolve their conflict, apologizing for the mishap in the bath. This makes the girl reconsider. Perhaps he isn't just a fool, he's the emperor of idiots. As she conjures her cannon, she advises him to abandon his dragon and wield the hidden sword. He regrets to inform her he cannot use it, to which she coldly predicts his downfall. She launches metal projectiles at him, but he skillfully dodges and deflects them with remarkable agility. However, she fires her laser beam at full throttle. His sister's friend realizes he's about to lose, but his sister tells her that he won't be losing that easily. The princess wonders how he's still alive and feels like he's toying with her, so she decides to unleash her ultimate weapon and activate its full energy. She tells him to beg for mercy from her divine remit and sends a gravitational attack that sends him crashing towards the ground. Her energy is beginning to run out, but she tells him that it's over for him. However, her weapons begin crashing into each other, and they realize she's losing control. He tells her to hurry out of her machine, but she tells him that she won't lose like this. A sound is heard from the distance, and the barriers disappear. They see an abyss dragon eating at the machines, destroying them. All the students are informed that they must evacuate. The abyss begins firing towards the princess, and Lux defends her from the oncoming fire. They begin dodging the abyss's attacks, and the girls are scared. Eri comforts them, telling them that her brother won't lose against a single abyss. Lux rushes away from the dragon and she remembers him asking her to help him destroy the abyss because he can't destroy it alone. He told her that he would signal her to use her cannon and that she should be ready for his signal. He dodges across the sky, firing against the dragon and baiting it towards his trap. The abyss begins rushing towards the princess, but he distracts it. However, the abyss slashes his arm off. The princess uses this opportunity and fires at the dragon, annihilating it. Lux comes crashing down and misses. Sunder goes to check up on him. The shower plot progresses again, and she thinks that this is the first time a man has ever tried to protect or help her. Inside his dorm, he dreams in pain, remembering himself staring at a pond and hearing his brother asking him what he intends to do. His brother had asked him if he was willing to stay by his side or if he had his own plans. He wakes up from his dream and sees that the princess is here to take care of him. He asks her why she's here, and she tells him it's because he saved her. She introduces herself as Adismeda. She tells him that she's grateful for him saving her and tells him that she's a lenient and generous princess. They stare at each other and laugh, and she tells him that she trusts him. She says that she'll let him know the real reason for her duel, and she tells him that she couldn't let him get away with seeing that in the shower. He apologizes for seeing her plot, but calls it pretty. She tells him that he's a filthy dog and that he should drop dead. She tells him that she was talking about this and goes on to show him a mark above her plot. She tells him that she hasn't ever told anyone about this and that he should keep it a secret. He tells her that he'll keep it a secret and swears on his swords that he will keep it a secret. She asks him why he refused to use his sword during the duel, but he doesn't know what to say. She tells him that his punishment will be attending this all-girls school. She tells him to call her Lizashart as if she was his classmate and leaves. A girl was spying on them and wondered who this Lux Arcadia guy was. The next day, the teacher introduces Lux to the rest of the class and tells him to greet them. He introduces himself, and Lizashart has taken a liking to him. The girls think he's cute and think he must be extremely powerful. He wishes he could just go home and see a pink-haired girl he recognizes as Fluffy. He thinks it's been 7 years and tells the teacher that she's a childhood friend of his. The teacher allows him to sit next to her, and Lizashart gets jealous. He asks Fluffy if he could borrow her textbook, but she tells him to call her Fi. The rest of the class begins thinking they're cute for their nicknames, and she gives him her textbook and calls him Luno. Later on, the girls ask him if he's a handman. One of them requests his hand for service, and the other girl thinks that she wants some of that too. One of them decides to create paper requests so they can all get service from him and begin calling him Luxie. Lizashart comes up to him and tells him she also has a request. She tells him that from now on, she wants him to be her exclusive personal assistant. She tells him it's the least he can do since he saw her plot. Fi gets up, telling Lizashart that she's making him uncomfortable. The skirmish begins, and Lizashart hands her adversary a donut, urging her to step back. After eating it, the girl tells Lizashart to give Luno some space, declaring she'll refer to Kralsifer as blue-haired witch henceforth. Krujirl informs Lizashart that the headmaster assigned her to watch over him. Lux, eager to escape the chaos, departs with her. Grateful, he asks why she intervened on his behalf. She inquires if he's familiar with the Black Hero, the legendary Drag Knight who toppled the Empire single-handedly. Revealing that his identity remains a mystery, she tasks him with finding the Black Hero, citing personal reasons. Lux recalls his brother's words about their childhood friend being earmarked for human experimentation by the army, expressing his aversion to killing. The following morning, he awakens perplexed by his dream. As he picks up plot, enjoying the blanket's comfort, he suddenly realizes his error and hastily retreats. He asks her why she's here, and she tells him that this is her room, and that they slept together because of that. He tells her to cover herself up because he can see everything. Ari tells her brother that she's surprised that he could transfer to this school and already develop more plot yet again. He tells her that it's not like that, and he tells her that the headmaster paired them together because there were no other vacancies, and that she trusts him with her sister. Ari warns him to be careful because rumors are already going around about him. She leaves, and he asks her why she's leaving so soon. She tells him that if she stays by his side any longer, she won't be able to leave him. She tells him it's a joke and leaves. He goes inside a barn and says that he's here for a request. He sees Lizashart lying on the floor and asks her who the manager of the shop is. She tells him that she's the manager and shows him his repaired dragon. He asks her how she's able to do such a great job, and she tells him that she did this so he could join the school's night squad. She tells him she saw potential in his skills, and she would like him to lend his strength for their new kingdom. He takes the sword, telling her he'll do what he can. She tells him she's glad he could join, but that she has one more request of him. They spend the day walking around, holding hands, and she tells him that they must get to know each other to be better knights. She takes him to a restaurant, and he thinks this place is expensive. She tells him she's a princess, so she can definitely take him out, but realizes that she forgot her wallet. They still get food, and she apologizes because she wanted to be the one to treat him to lunch. She tastes his big long creamy stick, and thinks it's delicious. She blushes and tells him that she wants to feel it on her chest. They go on top of a tower, and she tells him she loves the view. He tells her that he used to come here to clean this place when he was younger, and she wonders how he was a handman prince. He tells her he's impressed by how she's a princess, but is able to repair those machines so well. She walks away, asking him what he thinks it means to be and act like a princess. She tells him that 5 years ago, she was captured as a war hostage to be used against the king, her father. She tells him that the brand on her stomach was because of those people making it seem like she's their property, and she wished for her father to come rescue her instead of his country. She tells him she couldn't die, so she has to abandon everything inside with the empire that abandoned her. She doesn't feel like a princess, but after her father's death, she was the only heir to the throne. At night, he thinks that he couldn't do anything befitting a prince. He remembers wondering why his brother had killed all of them. He remembers his brother laughing at him in a crazed way, telling him that he was useful. They didn't have to use the whistle that summons hordes of abscesses. He tells him that if he hadn't killed everyone, they would have assassinated him. His brother tells him that he doesn't understand anything. Lux wakes up, wondering how he fell asleep, and hears bells ringing. The teacher lets everyone know that an abyss appeared and that there are security forces headed to eliminate it. They are the last line of defense and must be prepared to fight. Lyschard tells him that she's heading off because the military is short-handed. She reassures him not to fret, proclaiming her strength, and departs. Aerie questions Lux if anything is amiss, and he acknowledges a recent spike in abyss occurrences, puzzled about the cause. As Lyschard prepares to confront a massive slime, a whistle sounds. The slime bursts, and fire alerts Lux to the whistle's echo. As the slime detonates, a voice commands the eggs to hatch, unleashing hundreds of abscesses. A man emerges, declaring himself a commander from the old empire. Lyschard accuses him of treason, but he claims it as his homeland and blows the whistle once more. The abscesses swarm about, yet Lyschard fights back with her laser cannons. Overwhelmed by another attack while she continues her offensive, she starts to lose ground. Suddenly, a returning Drag Knight warns them of the imminent peril. Lux tells his sister that he will go to help Lyschard, but his sister tells him that he can't do anything with his weak machine, especially without using his sword. He tells her not to worry and decides to head off. Lyschard is still fighting against the dragons with her gravity weapon. She asks if the rest are safe, but they tell her that they're in no condition to continue fighting. Lyschard says she will go for the leader to destroy his ability to control the abscesses. The man blows the whistle again, and 3 of the abscesses begin firing at her. As she attempts to dodge around, their leader strikes her down and they see the entire Empire's rebellious army. Lux tells her to hold out, but she tells him that it's okay, because in the end, she couldn't do anything befitting of a princess. She tells him it's been difficult, but she truly wanted to be one and prove herself. The leader tells her to spare him the pitiful story and rips her shirt to show her mark, telling her that he was the one who did that to her, and she remembers. She throws her sword toward him, and as he is about to end her, Lux comes to save her. Lux tells her that he also failed to achieve anything as a prince. He tried to save everyone, but failed, so he dedicated his life to saving people. His arm cuts off, but he activates his magical ability and releases his machine. He takes out his black sword. He gets covered in black armor and they realize that he has the black divine remnant. Aerie sees that her brother has released it, and the girl realizes he's the black hero. With his armor, he goes around annihilating all the abscesses standing in his way. He explodes them one by one, and his sister remembers that he was the Drag Knight that single-handedly destroyed thousands of machine dragons. The next day, Lux goes to school and sees all the girls congratulating him on his amazing victory. Aerie tells him that everyone prepared a surprise for him, and they hope that it's fitting for a prince of his status. Lyschard comes in, trying to thank him, but chokes on her words because his warm cream hasn't left her chest yet. Her friend comes in and says that Lysichard meant she wanted to thank him by riding his draconic dick. Fi comes up, congratulating him, and Lysichard calls her a ditzy girl for eating Lux's food before he eats it. The headmaster decides to have a toast and all of them enjoy the meal, especially his sister feeding him because we need to have a siskin plot. However, some girls think that they're all too relaxed around him, and Kralsifer sees this. The headmaster tells him that she has one more request for him, and tells him that she will be having a competition. Anyone who manages to capture this paper will get to use Lux for an entire week. She tells him that if he's able to hide and hold onto the paper for an hour, he won't be anyone's slave. Poor Lux begins running for his life. Throughout the entire campus, girls begin running to find him, and he hides in Lysichard's shed. She tells him that he can hide here for the time being, but she wants to ask him about the Black Hero. Everyone who sees him will keep it a secret, but knowing his divine rementa ability will advance her research. Lux explains that his reload on fire can compress time and unleash it, but Lysichard restrains him and tells him that he fell for the oldest trick in the book. Lux tells her that he will hand over the form if she lets him down. Lux hides around campus, and Fi comes up to him from behind. Her sister had promised her cake if she caught him, so Fi uses all of her strength to restrain him. She happens to secretly be a black belt in karate. She uses her secret technique to make him lose his mind, and the red paper falls. She lets go of him to take the paper, but he grabs it and runs away after promising her some cake later. With only 10 minutes remaining, he hides inside the library and plans on hiding behind the boxes until time is up. The group of girls walk in and Kralsifer is among them. He realizes that he's managed to get stuck in the girls' changing room. The plot thickens, and there's growing concern over Lux possibly getting too close or peeking at them again, reminiscent of his accidental fall in the bathhouse with Lysichard. Feeling ashamed of his tarnished reputation, a girl asks Kralsifer to fetch a book. As she searches, she catches Lux staring at her, sealing his fate then and there while the others grow impatient, wondering about the delay. Kralsifer promises to catch up once she finds the book. After the others depart, she informs Lux that they're alone. She reassures him there's no longer a need to hide, joking that an hour has passed in mere minutes, and offers to safeguard his paper. Puzzled by the timing of the bell, Kralsifer admits it's all part of her strategy, giving her free reign over him for the entire week. All she had to do was move the clock hand to trick him. Kralsifer bends over, telling him that she wants him to blow her back out this next week. Lux wonders if she's in her right mind. Later that night, Ari warns him to stop drawing so much attention, and they enter a secret room where the headmistress is waiting. She shows him the dragon whistle and reveals that it might be the key to entering the ruins that have been locked for the last century. They will invade it next week, and she wants Lux to try and open it for her. Lux understands his duty, but later that night, Ari tells him to be careful and use protection when blowing Kralsifer's back out. The next morning, Kralsifer begins explaining her wishes to him. She was forced to move to this kingdom because of a forced marriage for politics. But before losing her freedom, she wants to fulfill her personal goals, so she will use Lux to deceive her butler into thinking she has a boyfriend. She tells him to get closer, and gets in his ears. The girl starts screaming. Kralsifer warns him that she will tell everyone about him peeping if he doesn't follow through. At night, Kralsifer privately tutors Lux, but Lysichard barges in to interrupt their time. Fi comes in and sleeps on Lux, and Lysichard gets jealous again. Lysichard isn't done with Kralsifer yet though. She tells Kralsifer that it's understandable that she's silent after finding out how far their relationship has developed. Kralsifer is unsure how this land views love and wonders if holding hands is that serious, but Lysichard's friend reveals that she doesn't know much. Lux asks Lysichard if she knows what a kiss is, and she blushes and says she knows exactly what it is. She tells him that they only do it after they're married, and it's necessary for having children. Fi tries to reveal that she kissed Lux, but no one hears them. Kralsifer tells him to get rest so they can go on their date tomorrow, and Lysichard bursts out in anger. The following morning, Kralsifer wears her cutest outfit to impress Lux and walks around campus while trying to draw everyone's attention. This is all necessary to make sure everyone believes it's real, and we have Sherlock Holmes and Watson sneaking around. They go shopping for clothes at first, but Lux has never been in an expensive store even though he's a prince. Kralsifer tells him that she hasn't either because she's not like other nobles. Fi notices that Lux has taken his plot protection off, and Lizzie wonders what the size of his is. They walk out of the store, and Crawlsifer orders him suits to look like a proper prince. They go to enjoy dinner in the town, and as they walk during the sunset, Lux wonders why she's looking at him like that. Crawlsifer tells him that he looks handsome from the side, but Lux tries to ask if the restaurant is right around. She tells him that she was too focused on his beauty to tell. Lux stares at her and wonders what she's thinking, but hears a whooshing noise coming from above. Bandits come and tell them that if they try anything stupid, their friends will blast them. Lux wonders if they're trying to kidnap them since they're from the royal family, but Crawlsifer tells him that she will summon her machine dragon if he can distract them. Lux unsheathes his sword and destroys the bandits in front of him. Bullets come to destroy them, but Crawlsifer blocks them from ending Lux. The mechas get in position to destroy her, but Crawlsifer uses her wise blood ability to see into the future and destroys them in one blow. Lischard and Fi appear to explain the situation, but Lux asks why the fuck they're dressed like it's Halloween. They tell him it was part of their disguise to sneak around and save him, but Fi notices that a man is trying to escape. He tries to run away, but a mysterious woman appears from an alley and chokes the man in place. She tells Crawlsifer that it's been a long time, and Crawlsifer remembers she's Alter Eyes. Shift-Alt-Tab girl goes on to have dinner with them, and Lux wonders why Lischard and Fi joined them. Crawlsifer introduces Lux as her boyfriend, and her butler wonders who this kid is. Lischard firmly states they are not a couple, but Lux urges her to keep quiet for the moment. Suddenly, a man approaches from behind, questioning their behavior. He eagerly tells Alter Eyes he couldn't wait to see his beautiful bride, grabbing her face to admire it closely. Introducing himself as Balzared, head of one of the 4 great families, he reveals his intention to marry Crawlsifer, who quickly retorts that she is already taken. The man scoffs, dismissing Lux as a mere peasant in comparison. Crawlsifer sharply tells him off, refusing to be called his wife. Challenged by the man to a duel over Crawlsifer's hand, Lux is asked for his opinion. Crawlsifer escalates the situation by proposing a 2-on-2 duel, suggesting Lux partner with Alter Eyes to take them on. The man agrees, setting the terms for the confrontation, and Lux confidently assures him that they will be ready. Later that night, the man learns about the secret to enter the ruins, and his informant happens to be none other than Lux's brother. In the morning, Crawlsifer comes and thanks him for agreeing to the duel to save her. She wonders how he's still okay with this situation even though he's not her real boyfriend, and Lischard hears this and finally understands the situation. She's happy that Lux's heart belongs to Lischard after all, and Lux realizes there's no escaping her stupidity. She tells him that she will go and add more attacking methods to his Dragnef, like a giant drill so he can pierce her heavens. Crawlsifer tells Lux goodbye, and Lischard is still thinking about Lux's giant drill. Lux walks on campus and Tilfer comes and tries dragging him away with her. She brings him to a mysterious room. They tell him they will take care of him after a long day, and this was apparently all Lischard's idea to make him happy. She gets angry after her secret is revealed, but Tilfer goes on to tell him that they dressed up like maids for him to make him feel better. Lischard hopes something like this wouldn't bother him, but Lux thanks her for her kindness. She goes on to tell him that she can do some indecent things if he wants as well. After all, Tilfer taught her that maids do all these kinds of things. Shoutouts to Tilfer for being a Giga Chad wingman. A council meets and discusses the fact that Ragnarok is upon them. The groom's family determines that they will take responsibility for entering the ruins and securing the weapon of destroying it. At the same time, the headmistress holds a secret meeting to discuss tomorrow's mission and reveals that they will be using the whistle to enter the ruins. She entrusts Lux with the key to the ruins, and Lischard goes on to tell him that she will finally add the big drill to his machine. This girl really wants to get drilled. Lux starts ignoring her and wondering why Crawlsifer happens to be in this room. After the meeting, he asks her why she was attending when she's a transfer student, but she tells him to stop treating her like a special member since she got permission. She tells him goodbye and walks off. Later on, Lux spends time in the bath wondering what Crawlsifer is after, but sees giant plot development cannons armed and ready to attack. Apparently, the genius headmistress is the one behind this, and Lux goes on to leave before having any plot development. Fi says that she only bathes with a guy she likes. They hadn't bathed in a long time, and Lux thinks that Fi has gained massive plot cannons. It's over for Lux, and he tries his best to stay focused, but Fi begins falling asleep and is ready to drown. Lux grabs her and tries to wake her up. She wakes up and he wonders if something happened, but she begins falling asleep again. Lux notices that she has a scar on her back, but notices that it's disappeared since then. He wonders how this happened, but Fi goes on to tell him to make sure he's safe tomorrow. He promises he will be safe, but begins to pass out from all the heat and blood flow. The next day, the teacher introduces the head of their mission. It is none other than Balzer, and Lysia asks what's the meaning of this. He tells her that he's mainly here just to help, especially since his future wife is among them. He wants to personally protect her if anything were to happen. They advance and soon reach the ruins ahead. Kralsifer strides eagerly into them, with Lux puzzled by her haste. Suddenly, a gargantuan abyss emerges from the fog, not just any abyss, but a Diablo, a legendary creature capable of demolishing an entire city by itself. It lunges towards Lysiart's friends, but Lux confronts it with his sword. However, the beast's strength starts to overwhelm his blade. In a desperate move, Lysiart intervenes to rescue him from certain catastrophe. The dragon darts across the battlefield. As the abyss attacks another knight, Kralsifer uses her wise blood to immobilize it. Seizing the moment, Balzer activates his divine remnant and repels the abyss with force. He then throws down a challenge to Lux, proposing a race to defeat the abyss first. Amidst their rivalry, Kralsifer intervenes, urging them to prioritize the mission over their personal contest. She goes on to engage her wise blood, but the dragon's movements are all unpredictable now, and she fires without a single bullet hitting on target. The abyss launches a fire blow that rushes straight towards Kralsifer, but Lux saves her in the last second. The rest of the army engage their weapons to fight off the dragon, but all of their bullets miss. Balzer launches his axe and manages to be the only one to slash the abyss down, but this shocks Kralsifer, because this is the first time her wise blood ever missed. The dragon, however, begins to shine a white aura and is about to self-destruct. The explosion blinds the entire field, and Lux notices that Kralsifer's armor is beginning to break down. The ruin begins to open a sequence of gates, and Lux rushes forward, try and save her from the explosion. Inside his memories, Lux remembers his brother, making sure he was okay after a giant explosion had destroyed the ground beneath him. He was trying to use a new technique, and his consciousness began fading back. He sees that no one is around him, and wonders where he could have teleported to. Kralsifer reveals that they're likely in the ruins, and thanks Lux for saving her from the explosion. As they get closer to the center, Kralsifer collapses but is determined to continue moving forward before she loses her last chance. She collapses once more, so Lux begins carrying her on his shoulder. They arrive at the entrance, and Lux wonders why she's been looking for the Black Hero this entire time. She reveals that the Black Hero is the only one who can ride his Drag Knight infinitely, so she wants to ride his Drag Knight infinitely. Inside the center of the room, they arrive at the altar, and Lux goes on to take out the key to the altar. However, it begins to activate, and the altar acknowledges Kralsifer to be the key to this altar. She reveals that she's not a human from this world. She's a survivor of the ruins. The structure begins to collapse from above them, and Lux grabs Kralsifer and begins running away. They manage to escape, but are stuck inside of the ruins, but Kralsifer moves forward. These box-shaped objects was where Kralsifer was first found, revealing that she's not a real daughter of a royal family. Her father had found her abandoned here, so he adopted her and raised her with no memory of this place. But she knew that she didn't belong in their family. Everyone was distant from her and looked nothing like her. So she did her best to become a Drag Knight just to gain everyone's love. But the one thing she wanted the most, her siblings' love, she was never able to feel it. She wanted to believe that these ruins were fake, but the way they reacted to her proved that she was part of the ruins. She apologizes for bringing him along with a useless person like her. Lux tells her that even if no one else in the world cared about her, she's his friend and partner, so he doesn't want her to say sad things like that. Kralsifer tells him not to believe all the bullshit a woman says. She wonders how he could be so kind, so Lux reveals that it's likely because of his upbringing. He was kicked out of his house along with his mother and Eri, but there was one thing he could never forget. Nobody would help his family when his mother was bleeding out, and that was the last time he ever saw her. He hated everyone and became disgusted by every living person, but Fi was the only person that saved them. She was the sole person who supported them even when he was deemed worthless, providing him with hope not to despise everyone around him. Kralsifer muses whether Lux's compassion might have saved her had he ascended as the Empire's prince, but their thoughts are interrupted by a massive drill piercing the ground. Lyschard, seizing the moment, asks Lux if he now understands the usefulness of a drill, urging him to get moving and drill her hole. She then questions if Lux did anything untoward with Kralsifer, to which he cluelessly responds, earning him the label of a lewd pervert from her. Later that day, Aerie scolds him for his foolishness in failing to extract any information from the ruins but offers him herbal tea to prepare him for his upcoming duel. Lux accepts the drink and immediately falls unconscious. Aerie ponders if this will appease Kralsifer, recalling that she had orchestrated this plan to prevent Lux from having to rescue her. At the duel site, Balzarad wonders where Lux is, but Kralsifer tells him that it will just be the two battling it out. Balzarad summons his Drag Knight, and Alteris goes on to also begin summoning her Drag Knight. However, Balzarad uses his magical ability to knock her unconscious. The battle between the two of them begins, and Kralsifer uses her wise blood to avoid all of the oncoming bullets. Balzarad does the unexpected, dropping his axe to grab Kralsifer's leg and activating his magical ability. None of Kralsifer's wise blood shots are able to land, and he finally reveals the true source of his power. He fires 3 bullets that pierce her armor and flanks her from the back to slash her down with his giant axe. As he stood over her, it became clear to Kralsifer that the only reason he tagged along was to observe her Drag Knight's divine remit ability, and he was also the person who sent the bandits to attack her. The information from the battle allowed him to gain the edge in this duel. Balzarad calls her a mere tool that can't do anything against a man such as him, and tells her that no one in this world can save her. However, a sword comes slashing down, and Lux apologizes for being late. Clad in his black divine remit, the black hero has finally arrived. Lux tells him that he will never hand his girlfriend over to him, and Balzarad challenges him to come and take her. Lux rushes forward in full throttle, attempting to pierce his barriers with his mighty power, but Balzarad strikes him down. But now Lux finally understands. The reason he can read his movements is because he stole Kralsifer's wise blood. His divine remit steals the opponent's divine remit and drains the energy from their Drag Knight. That's why her butler's energy was sucked right away. Balzarad praises him for noticing but fires directly toward Kralsifer, giving Balzarad the opportunity to latch onto Lux and steal his reload on fire ability. His speed multiplies, and he vanishes throughout the field to strike down towards Lux. Unable to do anything against his divine remit, Lux barely manages to hold his ground. Balzarad reveals that he promised Empire he would fight off Ragnarok for the new Empire, and he needs to collect all the powers he can. The way he sees it, a single woman is nothing compared to saving an entire country. However, something changes in Lux's armor, and it begins flashing red. Kralsifer begs him to stop playing the role of her boyfriend. She is merely nothing, and was only using him as a tool. In the end, she shouldn't have bothered a person to involve himself with her. No one has ever cared for her, and it should have stayed that way. Lux's armor flashes, and he tells her that she's his lover. He will save her no matter what happens. After the battle ends, Noct wonders how Lux continued fighting, so Aerie reveals that he lost control of his Drag Knight on purpose to gain its extreme power. Lux goes to Kralsifer, saying the battle is over, and tells her to come back home with him. She cries and accepts, holding his hand. The next day, Lyschard continues following Lux around because it's the last day of the contract. Lux screams in shock, and the butler tells him that Kralsifer's family has approved him to be her fiancé. The butler offers her apologies for the inconvenience and makes her exit. Kralsifer then directs Lux to sit beside her, telling him to stop annoying the patrons. Puzzled by the continuation of their supposed charade, Lux recalls that during the duel he had impulsively declared himself her lover. He tries to dismiss it as a spur-of-the-moment act and pleads with her to stop teasing him. Kralsifer retorts that after spending a week with him, she has grown disinterested in weak-minded guys. Lux forces a laugh, feeling a twinge of pain internally, but she points out his unexpectedly bold side. Stepping back, Kralsifer licks her lips, grabs Lux's face, and teasingly mentions that if they were married, she'd be kissing his tough metal drag while riding it. Suddenly, Lyschard bursts in, scolding them for excluding her from their interaction. A few nights later, a girl with black hair walks around campus, and the other girls realize they haven't seen her before. She continues running around, and a teacher tells the girl to hurry home before the creepy stalker comes to her. She notices something is off about the girl, but decides to just leave her alone. Poor Lux has no idea how no one has realized it's him yet. Earlier, a girl was telling Lux that Ragnarok had been unleashed, and Lux remembers Balzarad's words. However, Chalice tells him not to worry because there's another girl who can fight Ragnarok. Celestia is her name, and she's the strongest among third years. She will be returning soon, but she hates men more than anything in this world. Chalice has a solution for this problem. However, not until for restrain Lux and they reveal their ultimate plan to deal with this problem. They take off his plot armor. Poor Lux can't get a break. While sitting at the bench at night, he wonders what type of person Celestia is, but he hears someone talking in the bushes. The blonde girl talks to a cat, but the cat begins walking away. Poor girl is so lonely even the cat doesn't care. He wonders who this girl is, and the mysterious creep approaches Lux. In an instant, he unsheathed his blade and was ready to end Lux. The blonde girl rushes in, parrying the sword and threatening to attack, but the mysterious stalker throws a smoke bomb. While they're distracted, the stalker throws a blade towards the girl, but Lux covers for her and gets injured. The blonde girl rushes him to the infirmary and tells him to take off his jacket. However, Lux can't blow his cover, so he asks her to do it from the back. After she finishes, Lux asks her why she is talking to the cat. The girl gets flustered and tells him to forget about it and that it's not like she has no friends to talk with or anything like that. The next day, Lux sits down and remembers the events from last night. He introduced himself as Woe to the girl, and she happened to be the man-hater, Celestia. Lissachart begins calling out his name, but he's too zoned out to pay attention. Plot development enters the chat and Kralsifer asks him if he would like to take a rest during their private tutoring session and see where things take them. Lissachart yells at her to stop since their fake lover stuff ended last week, and Lux gives up. At a different part in the kingdom at night, a mysterious man walks around the jail cells. Balzarid begs the man to let him out, but the man points his finger towards Balzarid's chest, and a second later, his insides begin exploding. He then blows the abyss whistle and the abyss begins gathering around the kingdom. The next morning, Lux gets determined to face Celestia in order to fight off Ragnarok, but Tilfer calls for him because there's trouble running around. He hears Celestia begging for Lux to be kicked out of the academy since he's the only man here, but Lissachart calls her a blockhead. Lux enters and Celestia introduces herself again, telling him that he can't attend their academy because he's the only male. Lux asks her to help with the suppression of Ragnarok, but Celestia tells him that she will face Ragnarok alone. Lux still refuses to leave because there's no chance she can face Ragnarok off alone. The headmaster tries to calm them down and suggests that the best way to settle this entire situation would be by having them duel one another. They will be traveling to an island for 3 days of training and duel each other before leaving. Lissachart bets that Lux will win, but Celestia agrees to the conditions and leaves the room with a girl called Sania. At night, Sania thanks Celestia for trying to throw Lux out today and bids her good night. After Sania leaves, Celestia thinks this whole situation is terrible, but winning the duel will be the only way she could protect Lux and the school. At the island, Celestia takes command of their training, but Lux notices a building in the distance and wonders if he's seen this place before. At night, Lux wonders how Celestia was able to train so much harder than anyone else, and Kralsifer reveals that Celestia nature has always been this way, but she's always looked bothered by something. Before they head off to bed, Lux tries to give Chalice her clothes back, but Tilfer and Noct think this is a boring development because they fit him so well. Sania calls for Lux for an urgent request, so he enters the room and realizes that the only thing that's going to be longer than this night is his dick. Celestia wonders if anything's wrong, so Lux immediately switches to his girl voice and wonders why she would call him here. She requests a massage from him and subsequently asks him to change clothes. Lux attempts to leave, but she pleads with him to stay a bit longer, prompting him to switch into his female disguise before she realizes his true identity. Celestia rises and notices that it's actually Luno present, which excites her, seeing her only friend. Lux tries to sneak away before she discovers his disguise, but his efforts to leave dishearten Celestia. She then proposes they hang out the next day. Lux, desperate to escape the awkward situation, finds himself reluctantly agreeing to meet up, which lifts Celestia's spirits. However, she soon spots Luno's sword in the room. After unsheathing and admiring the elegant weapon, she hands it back to Lux. He exits the room, leaving Sania puzzled, as 2i Luno lingers around Celestia's room. Kralsifer interrupts to say that Luno was only there because she asked her to meet at this place and asks Sania why she was watching over Celestia's door so carefully. Sania's caught with his dick in her hand, so she decides to leave. Kralsifer tells Lux to come with her, and Lux wonders how she knew it was him. She told him she'd never forget her precious Lux. She warns him of Sania because she seems to want him kicked out of this academy. That same night, Fi stares outside the window at the moon, and Lux wakes up and sees the intense plot development in front of him. Lux wonders what she's doing here this time, and Fi asks him if he would want a hug. He remembers hearing Fi's words telling him that hugs cheer you up. He smiles and tells her that he's not a child anymore, but Fi tells him that she doesn't think he's changed and that he's always been the same. She hugs him, telling him that even if he loses, she will fight Cilicia for him and will make sure that they will never throw him out. The next morning, Lux plays with his fake plot, and Cilicia finally approaches him to begin their day out together. Throughout the town, she takes him to all kinds of shops, and eventually leads him to a bathing dress shop. She asks him if he would like to try one, but he runs away and says that he has a fever. Cilicia takes care of him, but apologizes for not being a proper escort. Lux tells her that she's wrong and that he's been having fun walking around with her all this time. Cilicia hugs Luno, telling him that she's so happy to have found a kind friend. They eat crackers together, but Lux notices that Cilicia has fallen asleep during the middle of the day. An eagle's screech wakes her up, and she realizes that she can't be showing her weakness. Lux wonders why she's always forcing herself to stay strong like this, so she tells him that strong people should endure their loneliness. He starts laughing, remembering how she was talking to a cat. She gets embarrassed and tells him to forget it already because it's not like she was alone in the imperial capital and filled with loneliness or anything. Cilicia gives up. She even hates how everyone thinks she's a man-hater here and asks Luno if she could keep a secret. She tells Luno that she's not a man-hater at all and actually wants to ride Lux's giant dragon. The next day at the castle, investigative reports have found that Ragnarok's empty husk was found, but it appears that the body likely disappeared somewhere in the ocean. Cilicia changes for her swimming practice, and Sania asks if Cilicia is going to allow that man to swim with them. After being silent for a moment, she then reveals that she actually doesn't hate men. If anything, she's fond of them since her teachers have always taken care of her. However, she can't rely on a younger man in her position, and will do anything to defeat Lux. At the beach, the girls call for Lux by the name Luxike. He sees all the plot and looks away from them. I told you this guy couldn't look at girls even if they asked him to. Krulsifer explains that it's okay, since it's not underwear, and Fi splashes him with her giant water guns. Fi continues splashing him until he runs away from the situation and finds Lishart struggling. She's worried her outfit will reveal her mark, but Lux tells her that it's okay since she's as flat as a surfboard. Eri notices that she's outclassed in every single way and gets depressed. Lux asks her what's wrong, but she calls him a perv and Lishart calls him a siskin. Miss S. Giant Cannonballs finally appears and asks the headmaster why Lux is joining them. She wonders where Luno is, and Lux realizes that he's screwed. Chalice pulls him away and hands him a bikini to wear for the beach. Tilfer is excited by this because she wants to see swimsuit Luxike. Immediately, Lux runs away, but bumps into Cilicia. Cilicia mocks him for having so much free time to go to the beach and leaves coldly. This puzzles Lux because he remembers her telling Luno that she wanted to apologize to Lux. She had learned her swordsmanship from his grandfather after all, but in the end she was the reason for his death. Her only remaining wish was to make sure that his grandson doesn't face the same fate, so she must beat him against all odds. Lux sits alone in his room, knowing he can't lose either. In the distance, the mysterious stalker oversees them and meets up with Lux's brother. The next day, the duel between the two of them is finally about to begin. The winner will gain one wish, and she asks if both of them are okay with the conditions. They agree, and they both draw their swords. The girls notice Lux has opted for his wyvern instead of his usual black drag ride, a tactic to mask his identity. As they engage in a sword fight, a mysterious stalker maneuvers through the forest. Chalice and Tilfer eventually apprehend the man, having intercepted all their letters and unveiled his true identity as none other than Sania, who then discards her disguise. She declares her intent to assassinate everyone present and topple the new empire. Without hesitation, she draws her sword as the dragon whistle sounds. Her divine remnant activates, undergoing a transformation that enhances its size and power. Simultaneously, Lux skillfully blocks all of Cilicia's strikes while evading her, but she unleashes her magical energy, casting a lightning bolt aimed to devastate Lux. He begins to lose control of his drag ride, allowing him to activate Recoil Burst and rush towards her. In an instant, she vanishes away and teleports behind Lux. But just before she is able to launch her attack, Loud screams begin to deafen their ears. Tentacles pierce the ground and throw Celestias out of control. Eri runs around and notices that Fia is the only one missing. Deep in the forest, Fia struggles to keep walking and collapses, but her sister hugs her. She promises to never let anyone take her away again, even if they have to ally with this damn new empire. Lux holds on to Celestias, asking her if she's okay. Before them is the Ragnarok, that's believed to be close to resurrection. Celestias vows to destroy it alone and rushes towards the Ragnarok while dodging the tentacles. She activates Divine Gate and teleports towards the head of the Ragnarok, shooting from point blank onto the Ragnarok and then slashing it down. After crushing the enemy, she struggles to continue flying, but Senya appears looming over them. She warns her that this fight is long from over and the abyss whistle is blown once again. Lux sees the man and wonders why his brother is here. The Ragnarok revives from the ground and is fully healed. Senya rushes to end Celestias, but Lux barely manages to deflect her blow. Senya calls him a clown, wondering if he knows the truth about his grandpa, because after all, the one who killed him was none other than Celestias. Lux is unfazed, having already known this, but the Ragnarok launches a smoke plume for Senya to create some distance. Senya takes this opportunity to shoot him down. After a while, Lux finally manages to wake up Celestias from being unconscious. She sees him and apologizes for not telling him about his grandfather's death. During her childhood, she had learned that there may be corruption in the former empire, but when she told Lux's grandfather, they imprisoned and killed him, throwing the rest of his family out of his palace. Still, his last words encouraged her to always seek the truth, because she happened to be right. This is why she's always wanted to defend Lux and apologizes for deceiving him and lying to him all this time. She wonders if he must be upset, but Lux tells her that she's wrong. He unsheathed the black sword, revealing that he's also been deceiving her all this time. This time, however, he will no longer deceive her. The pitch-black divine drag right appears before Celestias. Lux tells her that he's never hated her and loves her awkwardness. He takes off, flying straight towards Ragnarok. In an instant, he destroys Senya standing in his way. As he gets closer, he activates his reload on fire, and even as the Ragnarok launches his tentacles towards him, Lux's incredible speed allows him to destroy every single one of them. This is his hidden skill and action. Celestias points her spear towards Senya, commanding her to surrender before she becomes a prisoner, but Senya refuses. She knows that Celestias would never stab her, so Senya bids her goodbye and flies away. However, the battle is far from over. A white crystal appears from Ragnarok's center and Senya quickly takes it along with the mysterious man. The mysterious man finally takes off his cover and Lux realizes that it's not his brother. This boy's name is Hayes, and he promises to revive the nightmare from 5 years ago. Senya launches an attack towards Lux, and they disappear. After their departure, Lux finds himself gazing at the same building as before. In Celestia's room, he tends to her wounds, but she cannot forgive him for deceiving her with the Luno disguise all this time. Lux wishes for a way to make amends, but Celestia is tormented by the joy she feels in being saved by him. She admits her unfamiliarity with understanding men's feelings and asks him to teach her, as his grandfather once did. If he agrees, she'll allow him back into the academy. Lux agrees, but conditions it on her kneeling. Later that night, as he stares again at the building, he attempts to recall a nightmare from 5 years prior. Yet, the images in his mind are twisted and obscure, eluding his grasp. His reverie is broken by the ground trembling and a colossal object beginning to emerge from the ocean. A giant whale-like object appears in the sky. It's one of the ruins. The headmaster goes on to reveal the real reason she's brought them to this camp. 9 years ago, Lux remembers his brother destroying an expensive statue. They tried to hide the fact it was their fault by blaming it on one of the girls, and they picked Fi to take all the blame. Inside the headmaster's office, the principal asked her why she would do such a thing, but Lux enters the room and claimed he was the one who broke the statue. While he walked away, Fi held his hand, thanking him for taking the blame even though he wasn't the one who did it. She tells him not to apologize when he's not the one at fault and hands him a cookie. He eats it, and she calls him Lu Chan. Her name is Fi, and when he says it, she smiles back at him. The next morning, Lux comes to Fi's room. She tells him that she will be participating in the ruins investigation along with him. Lissachart comes in and asks him to come with her for a moment. She tells him that this will be how he gets rid of his drag rides limiter, the over limiter. Once he gets his release code, he will be able to unlock his drag knight's true form. but he must be careful because the consequences could be fatal. Underneath the ruins, everyone gathers to begin the investigation. Eri tells Lux that she'll be joining along with him and asks him to protect her inside. They armor up, and the ruins gate begins to activate. Inside the ruins, they must traverse 11 floors to reach the heart of the ruin, so they decide to split up into teams to investigate the ruins thoroughly. Lux is assigned the 6th floor and Celestia is excited to join his team, but Eri tells her to investigate the 3rd floor instead. Celestia is lonely all again. Lux tries to cheer her up by promising to meet up with her halfway through. Her happiness is apparent and the other girls think she's definitely after Lux as well. While traveling around, Eri tells him not to touch Noct just because no one else is around. Lux tries to finally deny the allegations, but Noct asks him to point out one thing he likes about her. He tells her that he loves the giant plot cannons she has. The radar detects a nearby living object, and Lux goes to investigate. When turning the rubble over, he finds a mysterious girl sleeping. Chrolsifer catches up with them, realizing that this being is likely dangerous, so she asks Eri and Noct to leave before being harmed. What's all they plot? Chrolsifer knows this person isn't a human, so she strokes her face, and the being wakes up. The girl states that her system is booting up and acknowledges Chrolsifer to be her master. The girl thinks no one called for her, so she falls back to sleep. Chrolsifer and Lux wonder what's going on, so the girl introduces herself as the supervisor of the ruins. She's an automaton, however, she has no recollection of the past because she slept too much and begs them not to abandon her. The girl promises to follow her orders as administrator. They introduce the robotic girl to the rest of the crew, but Lux notices that something is off about Phi. He doesn't want her to push herself and tells her to join his group until they've completed this mission. He begins carrying her around and the headmaster notices something is off about her sister. They reach the Abyss production area, but Phi begins wincing in pain and warns him that something's coming. The Abyss whistle is blown, and Hayes is ready to activate the next part of his plan. Lux puts Phi down, but an Abyss rushes towards him to knock him off balance. It happens to be a Diablos, and Lux barely manages to fend it off Tilfer. The Diablos rushes towards Lux and destroys his arm. However, this Diablo is not alone. Chrolsifer warns Lux that 2 other Diablos are prowling outside. Lux urges the headmaster to complete the mission quickly to prevent the Diablos from harming innocents, but the headmaster dismisses him, insisting he simply follow orders. Despite this, Phi powers up her drag ride to defend the people, prompting Lux to activate his Black Divine Remnant to keep pace with her. As they move together, Phi confides in Lux that she can pinpoint the exact locations of the abysses, leaving Lux perplexed. He inquires if she has visited this island before, but suddenly, a gate beneath them activates, teleporting them outside the ruins. A Diablo charges at Lux, but Phi skillfully uses her ability to seize the abyss and slam it into the ground. Upon landing, Lux experiences a sudden jolt in his brain, triggering flashes of past events. He remembers exactly what happened, but before he can react, Diablos attacks Phi and sends her launching into the building. Lux flies to destroy the Diablos. His ambush overpowers the enemy along with the speed of his strikes, destroying it in an instant to find where Phi might be. He enters the building and notices an underground secret area. When he enters the ruins, he remembers exactly what happened in this place. It used to be a human experimentation zone, and he was here 5 years ago, and so was Phi. Deeper inside, he finds Phi burning up with pale skin. She warns him that an abyss is near, but Lux says that he's already defeated it. However, she tells him the abyss is now here. That is the end of the movie. Thank you for watching.